القرار الخاص بتنفيذ الزراعة والمصري كلها موجود إن شاء الله إيجابي محسوس. رسالة أخيرة للأستاذ انتوني ترين خبير مكافحة مكملة للبرنامج المصري الألماني، ثم أخذ ذلك تعقيب ونشر الجلسة. تفضل.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am the last formal speaker of what has been rather a long day. I'm sure you're all feeling a little bit tired and perhaps a little bit sleepy now. I promise I will try not to send you to sleep. Many people today discuss the future of government in Egypt. What I would like to do with you this afternoon is to share with you a vision for the future of cotton pest management. So, before we start discussing anything, we should perhaps decide what exactly we mean by liberalisation. So first of all, on one side of the coin, we have the farmers. Now, under this liberalisation vision, farmers would be responsible for the implementation of all aspects of their own cotton pest management. And to do that, it means they will be free to choose from a range of service providers, and they will obtain from these people advice, support, pesticide, application protection, and training services. The other side of the coin is the Ministry of Agriculture and Land Reclamation, private dealers, cooperatives, local small service companies, cotton companies, and they will all provide the services to which they are best suited. So that is a broad overview of the vision. So if we take three groups one by one. Firstly, we have farmers, then there's the ministry, and then finally the private sector. So under this vision, what would farmers be responsible for? Well, they would firstly be responsible for following the Ministry of Agriculture recommendations for cotton pest control. And that means they'd be responsible for pest scouting, for collecting the egg masters, for Pro.Dr.Anthony, for taking the spray decision, for selecting pesticides to spray, obtaining the necessary pesticides and sprayers, and they will also be responsible for the cost of pest management. What would the Ministry of Agriculture be responsible for? The Ministry's overall responsibility would first be legislation and regulation. It would be the job of the Ministry of Agriculture to provide the framework, rules and regulations under which everybody operates. They will also be responsible for the certification and licensing of pesticide users and operators. If private companies are to establish themselves for spraying services, the farmers need to be sure that such companies can provide quality services. And one way of doing that would be to train and certify or license such companies. Obviously, the Ministry would also be responsible for the best management recommendations coming from research. They will be the ones to disseminate these recommendations to the farmer. And they will do it, as Mr. Harnish and Mr. Waasfa have described, largely through the provision of advice and support to farmers through the Farmer Learning Group program. The Ministry will also be responsible for monitoring pesticide use and pesticide quality available to farmers. And it will possibly be responsible also for supervising any pest control practices which are best carried out on a wide scale. The private sector, we could say, basically consists of dealers, cooperatives, local service companies, and cotton companies. And they, between them, will be responsible for the provision of advice and support to farmers following again the Ministry of Agriculture pest management recommendations. They will provide pesticides, and they will also provide sprayers, whether directly for sale or for hire for farmers for use. They will provide training services, and they will provide credits. And they may also provide assistance with obtaining inputs. Now, it's important to remember, of course, that in the private sector, not all organisations will provide all of these services. For example, a small local pesticide trader may not be able to provide credit. His business ability is not up to that, so he will not do it. But the cooperative doctors, they can provide credit. Cotton companies can provide credit. But the cotton companies may not provide inputs. Each organisation will provide what is best suited for in the system. So if we look at the overall picture, if we look at the whole picture, we can see at the centre is the farmer. The farmer is the one that is responsible, he's the one taking all decisions for his own crop and pest management. Supporting the farmer, we have the Ministry of Agriculture, cooperatives, dealers, service companies, and product companies, all doing what they are most suited to do. And over it and above it, we have the Ministry of Agriculture, which is providing the framework within which everybody operates. There have been concerns expressed about this vision of the future. Firstly, people have said the farmers do not have knowledge, particularly in bollworm. There has been concern about the use of cotton bollworm pesticides on other crops, what one might call leafy from cotton to the other crops. There's been concern expressed about farmers not controlling infestations in their cotton fields, which then spread onto other and affect other farmers. And there have been concerns that the private sector at present is not capable of providing the quality services required. Now these are all legitimate concerns, but there is a choice, a simple choice. The first choice is that the situation remains unchanged to what it is now. The farmers have limited freedom in cotton pest management. At the moment they have freedom for sucking pests and to a large extent from leaf worming. We do not have freedom for bollworms. So that situation can stay the same. That is one choice. The other choice is to fully liberalise cotton pest management, while at the same time introducing means by which the concerns can be addressed and overcome. And that, I think, is the stated policy of the Ministry of Agriculture. That is the choice. Now, I think it's important also to remember that when you're addressing these concerns, there's not one single solution which will provide all the answers. There's a range of solutions which will be needed, each of which will contribute to supporting the whole system. Many people have talked to me in the future, this situation, training is the answer. Training. Everybody says training. Yes, I agree training is important, but it's not the only answer. Other things must also be put in place. So, what solutions are available? Obviously, first of all, there is training. There is training of the ministry staff to support the Farmer Learning Group program, training of the staff on the pest management techniques, and not just the whys, the hows of the techniques, but also the whys of the techniques. Why do you do pest management in this way? And then the follow-on to that, of course, is to transmit this information to the farmers through the Farmer Learning Group. Other things which can be done, first of all, as I've already mentioned, the introduction of a training and licensing scheme for pesticide dealers and operators to improve performance standards. Many farmers already ask local private dealers for advice. I need a pesticide for this pest, which is the best one to use, or even what pesticide does they ask the dealers. So the dealers are in fact the source of information for farmers. To ensure that farmers get the best quality service from these people, I think they need to be trained and certified so they can prove they can provide these services. There is also a need to control adulterated, smuggled and fraudulent pesticides and the control of pesticide soil plastic vehicles. Many of these pesticides are obviously they're smuggled, they're fraudulent, they're substandard, basically they are wasting money for the farmer. The farmer goes out to buy these and spray them, basically he's wasting his money. These need to be controlled much better. And that brings us on to the registration of pesticides, because a registration system for pesticides ensures that farmers are only quality pesticides are available to farmers. And it also means that a wider range of pesticides will be available, because those companies wishing to register pesticides have a standard procedure to follow, which is fair, it's equal to everyone, it's 2 pesticide industry associations. If those associations can be developed and strengthened, they can support this whole process. They are, on the whole, responsible traders, they are responsible companies. They want to see a responsible pesticide industry, and it's all working towards the benefit of farmers. So in conclusion, cotton pest management is in the process of transition from a system of control and implementation by the Ministry of Agriculture and Land Reclamation to a system where the control and implementation will be by farmers, supported by the Ministry of Agriculture and the private sector. And that a range of activities needs to be addressed to ensure this happens smoothly and effectively, and in fact many of those activities are now being dealt with at the moment. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Thank you very much.